Today we have the top 5 quick tips for climbing ranked with Irelia. As for Irelia, she's one of the highest skill mastery and skill cap champions in all of League of Legends, and being a carry champion that's used at the highest level, she can be a little bit tough to pick up. That's why here at Mobalytics we can help you out by checking out your champion-based GPI on Irelia and all your other champions. With the GPI, you can find out your strengths and your weaknesses and compare and contrast what they do and some of the Irelia experts can do that you're currently not. Just figuring out this step is so much of the equation that figuring out what your strengths and your weaknesses are will help you get better in the long term. Check out your GPI today at mobalytics.gg and use the link in the description. So for Irelia, starting off with tip number 1, let's talk about stacking up. With Irelia, you have two main things that you need to stack up in your Conqueror and your passive. Irelia's trading power, and so much of the reason that she's able to output damage is due to the amount of damage that her passive and Conqueror give her. Unfortunately for her, she does need to kind of stay in combat and push the wave in order to do this effectively. As Irelia, you should be looking to queue 4 minions or hit some of your abilities first before you look to go in for a trade. Either start off by queuing 2 minions and getting 2 stacks of your passive, then go ahead and hit your E and then all in. As for your Conqueror, you will get out-traded in the early game unless you have your Conqueror ready. Again, so much of the reason that you're able to all-in people is based around this damage, so respecting it and understanding how to use it properly will be a massive tip and get you those solo kills that you're looking for. For tip number 2, let's talk about her E and some of the better ways to learn how to land her stun. Firstly, you can learn how to mask your E with your other animations and using it in succession with your other animations. As Irelia, you have a lot of complicated animations, and although she's smooth to play, sometimes it can be hard to see exactly what's going on when playing against her. You can use this to your advantage. Remember that your enemies are not always perfect players, just like you're not the perfect player. If you'll notice, just using your E by itself, it's pretty easy to see, and Irelia herself does some kind of jumping animation, and you can easily see the line in which it's going to draw. Now imagine a situation where the Irelia uses her E in combination with her other abilities and makes it much harder to see. Try to throw your opponents off by masking your E first, and then looking to use some of your other stuff and finish off your E. It makes it much harder to deal with. Sticking to the theme of animations, let's talk about Irelia's R for tip number 3. Irelia's R moves a little bit quicker than the speed of your Q, which also means that you can do something I see almost no Irelia players using properly, which is using your Q immediately after your R. You can somewhat cancel or cut off the animation or make it at least a bit smoother to use if you go from R into Q. As Irelia, you don't really have to wait exactly for your R to completely set up and then hit your opponent and expand. Pretty much pressing RQ immediately afterwards will get you your mark reset. For the 4th tip, let's talk about Irelia's W and some of the changes Riot has made to it and how you can use it better. Riot made a change on patch 8.15 which moved around the damage reduction on your Defiant Dance. This means that at all ranks now the base damage reduction for your Defiant Dance is 50 at all ranks instead of scaling with your W. Before this patch, with Irelia, you would actually max your W second to get that 65% damage reduction. And although this means that you did have a bit more damage reduction before and it was an overall nerf, also you did have this W max being second, taking away from your E, which reduces the cooldowns of your stuns. What this means now is you have your permanent rank 2 damage reduction all the time with your Defiant Dance, and most Irelias max your E second now. Firstly, you see some of the best Irelia players using their W in mid lane to help push. It still works in top lane, but because of top lane's curve, it's a little bit harder. However, you want to use your W in a cone the way that it shoots out to help you push out the wave for wave clear. The other thing is that your W does decent damage. It's not great, but it's not nothing. And the other thing is that your W also helps you apply your passive. You can either use it in your full rotation looking for the most amount of burst damage and all in, or you can wait till the end of your combo and use it to keep your passive going. It's your longest easy range ability to hit, and it's not as long of a cooldown as your R, obviously. So if your passive is about to expire, you can use your W to help reset that timer and then look for damage in trading after that. Finally, as always, the last tip is going into good matchups for the specific champion that we're doing the video on, but because Irelia is a top and a mid laner, we will give you 3 good matchups for each lane. Starting with top, Jace, Cho'Gath, and Camille are all pretty good matchups to varying degrees. Jace does have a pretty strong early game laning phase in making it harder for you to farm, but the amount of sustain that you have on Aurelia plus the massive all-in potential doesn't make it too bad of a matchup at all. As far as Cho'Gath, he simply can't outdamage you or survive the all-in. You can jump around and make sure you dodge his rupture, and then after that you can simply all-in him, and silence doesn't affect you too bad if you're able just to get in melee range and auto him down. As for Camille, this matchup is kind of 50-50 or slightly Aurelia favored, but it is a skill matchup and it's a lot of fun to play, so if you're looking to get better at Aurelia specifically, we highly recommend trying it in this matchup. Even if you lose the first couple of times, it'll teach you how to get better. As for mid lane Aurelia, these matchups are much more one-sided, and this is part of the reason that Aurelia is favored in the middle lane over top. Zoe, Aurelion Sol, and Orianna all struggle to deal with Irelia, and this is because they just can't survive her all-in potential. Given Aurelion Sol's recent base health nerf, this means that the matchup becomes much more difficult for him. Orianna has very low base armor, and unless she has the ball on herself, it's very easy for her to die in one rotation. Zoe does have nice poke and can beat Aurelia if she has some jungle assistance, but as soon as she hits level 6, it's impossible for Zoe to defend herself versus Aurelia unless she has some miracle outplay by picking up flashes. This has been the Mobalytics top 5 quick tips for climbing ranked with Irelia. Make sure you leave a comment down below which champions you would like to see next in this series. Thank you for watching and use the product at